Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on Masechtas Makkot Daf Tes Zayin. We're going to begin on Tes Zayin but Aleph, the fourth line from the top, with the words V'tirvayu alib Rabbi Yehuda. So we were learning a machlokas between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan with regard to the concept of bittul vo bittul kimu vo kimu, which means that if you have a situation where a person is able to be mekayim ne'aseh, there's a losa say and there's a lav ne'aseh, and you're able to do it right away, but you decide not to. So the question is, do you get malchus in that case? So according to the shita of Rabbi Yochanan, he holds bittul v'lo bittul, as long as you're at mavatal biyadayim, and therefore he also holds, therefore hasra suffix is still a hasra. However, Reish Lakish says that's kimu vo kimu. So the base instructs you to do an aseh. If you don't do it right away, then you get malchus, because he holds hasra suffix as lo shmi hasra, that you can't wait. And then we end up establishing this based on a case of a shvua. The person says, I'm going to eat this bread today. And the day passed, he didn't eat it. So both Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish agree that you don't get malchus. But the question is, for what reason? Rabbi Yochanan says you don't get malchus because there's no action attributed to it. So lav shein bo ma'isa. And according to Reish Lakish, the reason you don't get malchus because of hasra suffix is lo shema hasra. But Tirvayu leave Rabbi Yehuda the sanya. Those simim and what biker. So when it comes to the din of noiser, you're not supposed to leave it over until the morning. But noiser man and what biker but geimer. But if you do, then it has to be burned. So that's a lav and it say. Now, but baha kasav litan asay achalosa say. Why is it done that way? Loimer shein loikin alav. Dear Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds a lav and it say you don't get malchus. Rabbi Yochanan dai kachi. Rabbi Yochanan, who says again the notion of bitlo bitlo, and he holds hasra suffix is still shema asra. Daikachi taima debaha kasav. Only because you have a lav and to say what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to burn it. Haloba kasav loika. You would still give malchus. Alma hasra suffix shema asra. Even though we don't know what you're going to do, right? Because you didn't burn it yet. You're supposed to burn it right away, but you don't. So you'll still get malchus. So it must be because he holds asra suffix shema asra. Reish Lakish dain kachi taima debaha kasav. The reason why you're pater from malchus in achai malchus is because the pasuk says what you're supposed to do. Ha lo ba kasav loika al malav shein bo ma'isa loikin alav. So he actually holds a lav without an action. You still get malchus. Rav Shimon ben Lakish nami havadi hasra saviku. I understand. It's still a case of hasra savik, and I thought we established that Rav Lakish holds that kimu lo kimu, and therefore you should get malchus normally right away. But if you don't, then it's hasra savik. So savik idach tanadami Rabbi Yehuda the sanya. When it says hika zeh the chaz of hika zeh, let's say you hit this person. Says Rashi, and then you hit the other one. Kill zeh because of kill zeh, or he kishneim b'vasachas. Hit everyone at the same time. But kill shneim b'vasachas chayiv. Says Rashi, mishigris is shishtay. So you're talking about someone who divorced his wife. V'nises, she gets remarried. V'yolda, and she has a kid. Now this kid is a Savi ben Tisha Rishon Savi ben Zayin Lacharon. He doesn't know who his father is. So hika zeh because of hika zeh. B'shtei hasrois, if let's say he hits you and he hits the other man, the havili kol chad hasra suffix. Each one is considered to be a hasra suffix. So what do we see over here? By a case of hasra suffix, the din is chayiv. Must be because he holds hasra suffix is shema asra. Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'vasachas chayiv b'mezachas potter because hasra suffix is shema asra. Okay. So how do we understand this? Because it's a lav shim b'maisa. So it's the reason why you don't get malchus is because the lav say by srei, because you have to burn it. What do you mean? You still don't have to get. You don't get malchus the lav shim b'maisa. So Rabbi Loki Hani Amar Rabbi Idi Bar Aban Amar Rabbi Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Amar Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Huda Omer Mishem Rabbi Yisrael Kol Loisa Say Shiva. Every losa say in the Torah. Lav sheish bo ma'isa, if there's a lav which has an action like an lav. Lav she'ein bo ma'isa ein like an lav chutz. However, the exception is min hanishma when it comes to someone who makes a shvua, umeimar when it comes to dinim of tamura, Someone who curses his friend. Says Rashi. Let's see if we can find this. Because Shem Shal Kodesh Baruch Hu. V'taimim Mefarish B'Tamur Berakama. Because Shahadal Nami Nishbahu. Our case before is case of Shvua. But my Potter Le Rav Yochanan Mishum Lav Shem Bo Ma'isa. Behedya Makmin Allah. The Hagdakani Nishba B'Davar Shem Bo Ma'isa Laika. After you do get Malchus. So B'Shvua Dil Sha'avar. We're talking about a Shvua in the past. Kagon Achalti that I did eat V'lo Achal, but you didn't eat. Lo Achalti, I didn't eat V'lo Achal. So what you're doing is b'shas the shvua, it's already wrong. However, in something which potentially could happen or not happen, then you're not getting a malchus. Even though like umafreya, it'll show that you violated your shvua. Okay. Anyway, so Kash Rabbi Yehuda. So again, we have this stira. What exactly does Rabbi Yehuda hold? So, Rabbi Shimon is straight to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yochanan Kasha. Hadidei Had Rabbi. One is him, one is his teacher. So, what's the Kasha? Because apparently the question is, what's the din by Lav Shem Maisa? So, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Lav Shem Maisa, you get Malchus. That which you say, Lav Shem Maisa, ain't like in love. That was said in the name of Yav Yosei Galili. Tanan Hasam. Hanaitel aim al Habonim. So when it comes to the mitzvah of Shliach HaKain, of sending away the mother bird before I take the eggs. So let's say you took the mother bird, al habanim. So what happened? Says Rashi, you get malchus. Ksaver shalach mi karmash. You were supposed to originally send away, but instead you took the mother bird together with the eggs there. So you didn't shoo away the mother bird. So when it says shalach to shalach, is it now that it was already done, that you did the wrong thing, can you still fix it? No. According to him, he says that's going on before. Lo sikach aim, don't take the mother. Ella sholcha kaidem lakicha. Send the mother away before you take it. And therefore, it's not considered to be a lav v'netel aseh. Rather, it's a lav shekadmu asehu. The aseh precedes it, and you get malchus, as we saw before. No. According to the Chachamim, they actually hold that shalech, when it says that language, it means acher lo sikach mashma. So the question is, where do we place the word shalach to shalach as an aim? Is that considered to be like before, and therefore it's a lav shekadmu aseh, and you get malchus? Or do we say that the shalach is afterwards, the lav v'nitel aseh, and you don't get malchus? So it's depending on the reading. Zeh haklal. So this is the general rule. Kol mitzvos lo saseh sheish bo kumaseh ein chayav alal, because it's a lav v'nitel aseh. Now Rabbi Yochanan ein lanu el zayso acheres. This we only have this by this case and another. So Omer le Rav Eliezer heicha. Where is this other case? Amalei l'chi tishkach. Go and find it. So Nafak went out. He investigated v'ashkach. He figured it out. The Sanya Oines Shigiresh, which we had in the previous stuff. You have a person who's honest, a woman, and you divorced her, even though the Torah says that it's also to divorce her. Im Yisrael who mocks her, the Enuloika. So because it's considered to be like a lav hanitik laseh. The Im Koyin who like him mocks her because he can't remarry her. So Anichaman the Tani Kamavol Kaimoi. I can understand who says Kamavol Kaimo. Elman Yamar Bitlo Bitlo. One who says that you will never get malchus until you're mevatel biadayim. Bishlam Yigam Shalach HaKain Mishkach Asla. I can understand. You can, let's say, kill the bird, right? You kill the mother bird, then you can never do the mitzvah anymore. So there's a concept of being mevatel biadayim. El oinus bitl bitl heich mishkach asla. How do you find that you're mevatel biadayim? You can always marry her later on. So idikatla, if let's say he kills her. So coming to Rabbi Minay. So then there's a whole different problem coming to Rabbi Minay. It's really he is chayiv. It's just that we can't give him two punishments. Maybe he was makabel kedushin from someone else, and therefore that's a way of pushing her off biadayim. Let's see if there's a Rashi here. Okay. So Omarav, so Ishav Shliach, if he made a Shliach, so Ihi kom mavatalile. So she was the one who was mavatalit, right? No, it's if she's the one that made a Shliach, so she was the one who was mavatal, not him. Ilo shavase Shliach, kol kamine v'lo klumi. It's nothing. El Omarav Shimya ben Arda kagayin shehadira barabim, that he made a neder against her barabim, and therefore he's not to marry her anymore, and therefore that's how you're mavatal biyadayim. Hanichol madyam neder shehoda barabim eno hafara. You can't annul such a thing. Lo madyam yeshul hafara mechamemar. It's actually a machlokas. The answer is you're right, but the medirula al das rabim. If the neder was al das rabim, then you can no longer. There's no hafara. Diyomer meimer hilchasa neder shehoda barabim yeshul hafara. Al das rabim eno hafara. Once it's done al das rabim, no longer is there a hafara. Okay, let's slow down. Let's look at question 5. Elu beis lavin matzinu. Where do we find two lavin? The nichta behen asay. There's a lavin asay. V'iko madimer the ein loika lehen mitam dehavi lav de kodmu asay. That maybe you don't get malchus in that case. So either by the case we had before of tamei shenichnas al mikdash, person whose tummy enters the mikdash, that says v'yishalchum in the machne v'yitamas machneim, or hanoitel im banim, one who takes the mother bird. It says l'sikach im banim shal teshalach Rabbi Yehuda shalach mi yikar mashma, and therefore it's considered to be a lav. It's considered to be a lav shekad muaseh. So, fine. Be'ezel lav, question 6. Hanikta klaseh. How do we find a nittik laseh? So by the bird, if you kill it, right? So let's see what he writes over here. And also, okay, in the second one we haven't done yet. Okay, let's keep going. So gezel. Don't steal. That's a lot of nittik laseh. So mashkin. When it comes, person should not go into the house to fetch his pledge. You have to return it at sunset. And we find such a situation there. In these cases, since there is a chiyuv of getting malchus, so you're not going to have to pay. There's a chiyuv tashlumin, so you don't get malchus. So maskav Rav Zera ha'ika mashkana shel ger or mesa ger. That let's say the ger dies. Rashi says v'sarfu b'chay ger. Let's say you destroy it in the lifetime of the ger. Umesa ger the ein lo yarshin the leisa b'tashlumin. So maybe in that situation where there's no tashlumin, there's a din of malchus, because again there's no yorshim, there's no one to give it to. So as we continue to test Zayin Mebeis, Hasam Gavar Bar Tashluminhu. Really, you do have an obligation to pay. You do have a chiyuv to pay. However, Shibuda the ger hu the kapaka. It's just that the obligation to the ger has ceased because there's just a technicality. There's no one to give it to. You have to leave over the corners of your field. You can be mavatal it as well. Be a dayim did not mitzvahs peya lahafresh minakam. When it comes to pay, you're supposed to be mafresh when the crops are standing. Lahafresh minakam mafresh minamorim. So at least you can separate it while they're in their sheaves. Lahafresh minamorim mafresh minakri. You can separate it while it's in a pile. Anshal mirach, until the smoothing of the pile. Mirchu, but once you smooth it, mais v'noisen lo, and that's it. You're mavatal. You can't do anything. You can't do it anymore. So therefore, we see a case of bittul. So your answer is Rabbi Yishmael. The Emer av mafresh min isa. You can even be mafresh it from the time it's dough. So therefore, there's never a case of bittul bittul. What do you mean? Rabbi Shmuel Nami mishkachas al the ochel isa. Let's say you ate the isa, you ate the dough, just like you killed the bird, so it's the same thing. So we do find a case of bittul bittul. Ela zos v'od acheres aha of oinis lo. When we said zos v'od acheres, we're actually talking about the bird, and we're talking about this case of peya. Of oinis lo. However, oinis is not a good example. Why? The heichamrina naldas rabim eno hafara. The only time we say there's no hafara, and therefore there's a din of bittul that you can never marry her if you made such a vow, is only the devar rishus. Of the devar mitzvah yishul hafara. Since there's a mitzvah to marry her, such as this situation, because it says the whole yom of almoid v'hichserkoi yishul hafara. Ki hadiahu makri dardiki. There was this person who taught kids how to read. Tahavi pasha b'yunuki, and he used to cause problems with the kids. He got into fights with them. Hadre Rav Acha, so Rav Acha made a neder to get rid of him. V'hadre, and they took him back. V'hadre Ravina the loashkach the daikavase, because no one is basically as good as him. So they didn't like his tactics, but the reality is that he was effective. So we see when it comes to Devar mitzvah, even though das rabim, it doesn't matter. There's always a hafara. So therefore, when it comes to the case of einis, there's no din of bittul. However, there is one when it comes to the case of peya, as well as lusi ha'im al habanim. Okay, so that was question 6. Question 5 again. The two lavim which we find. The nicht behen asay v'ikol madir mit ein loikel lehen matam dahavili lavsh the kadmo asay was a person who enters into the mikdash tameh shenilzo mikdash or henaitel im halbanim. Okay, because maybe the shalach, the language of shalach, whatever, is mikara mashma. Okay. Let's see if there's another question. Says the Gemara. So the Mishnah said, "Ha'oichel nevelos treifus shkotzim ramasim v'chulu." So going back to Daf Yud Gimel, a little bit back, we find sometimes there is kares and malchus. In this case, we're talking about situations where there's just malchus because it's a lav. To the vela or treifa or shkotzim ramasim, these swarmy things. Fine. So you're going to be chayav in those cases. Let's continue the Gemara. So Omer Rabbi Yehuda, Haiman de Ochel Benisa de Bekarva. A person who eats, it says Rashi, tolas, these worms, tanimsas bekruv, that are found in cabbage, malkinanle, we'll give you malchus for that. Mishum sheretz al aretz, because you violated the law, so you get malchus. Karba, person who ate these worms. V'nagdir Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda give him malchus. So Rabbi achol poitisa loika arba. So if a person would eat potisa, Rashi says bola sheretz hamayim. You swallowed up the sheretz which is connected to the water, and you actually will get 4 malchus. Says Rashi, 2 lavin which are written by the sheretz hamayim. One is in Toras Kahanim and one is in Devarim, Mishnah Torah, and Shnei lavin ksum b'sheretz stam. It says tishaksu es nafshoseichem b'chol hasheretz hasheretz v'los tamba b'hem. So therefore, there's 2 and 2, so you get chayv 4. Nimla, if a person eats an ant, like a chamesh, you chayv a 5th. Mishum sheretz hasheretz al aretz. The extra one, other than the 2 we said, you also get because of the creepy crawlers on the ground. Then 0, when it comes to a gnat, some flying insect or a bee, so like a sheish, you can actually get 6 sets of malchus. Mishum sheretz oif. Says Rashi, chamish mishum sheretz aretz, the eretz mishum sheretz oif. As the pasuk says, v'chol sheretz oif tamehu lachem lo yoichelu. Omer Rav Achoy. So he said like this: Hamisha es nekeva, a person who holds themselves back from going to the bathroom, arvim mishum lo tishaksu. Then you violate the isser of lo tishaksu, of making yourself repulsive. Amar Bibi Barabaya Haiman Deshasi Bikarna Deumna, a person who is drinking from these vessels which bloodletters use, Ka'avar Mishum lo tishaksu. That's also something which is repulsive. Amar Rava Bar Rav Huna Risik Tisha Gemolim. Let's say you smashed into paste 9, it should say nimolim, ants, like you made into like a paste. The heavy echad chai, and like you made a sandwich, you put a living ant on top of it. The shliman lekazayas, and that adds up to a kazayas like above. Hey mishum beria, you get malchus for eating a live ant. The echad mishum kazayas nevela, and the other one you get a 5 for an ant, and then 1 more because you ate a kazayas of nevela. Rabbi Rav Yochanan afil shnayim v'hu, even if it's 2 and 1. Rav Yosef afil echad v'hu v'lo pligi habaravri habazutri. It depends how big these ants are. Can you imagine these ants? So depending, of course, how big an ant is to be able to be mashlim to a kazayas. So then that's obviously what we're referring to. Okay, we will stop there. Let's look at question 7. Achot siro, we'll call it a bee or a wasp. Me'elu shemus like a sheish. So he said 5 because sheretz aretz, and 1 because it's sheretz oif. So that's a pretty straightforward answer. TA 17 we did. 18 Madua ha'oichel chita. Okay, we didn't do that yet. TB 18 was insar chlikros as a shame adkan.